the type of industries are going to be dependent on what do we think the threat is.
Thinking about China, in a world where, you have an ability to scale and innovate, and that seems to matter a bit more than the ability to build large infrastructure heavy equipment. How do world powers respond to places like China and their dominance in manufacturing and innovation? Does the US, for example, more directly need to involve itself in Canada as well in its manufacturing sectors as a matter of national security in an effort to drive the strategies that allow for whatever tactics it is that we're going to be bringing to play?
So the industry has always been a strategic strength and a strategic interest. The access to critical minerals right now is the latest example of the realization that China, controls the processing of a huge part of those critical minerals that are needed for most uh, high-end weapon systems and vehicles, et cetera, that we use. So the industry side is always going to be a part of the strategic consideration. Now, the type of industries are going to be dependent on what do we think the threat is. Obviously, if your principal threat seems to be China, the long-term pacing threat, sometimes referred to, uh, you're talking about a maritime theater and an air domain. So the U.S. Department of Defense has prioritized an air and sea power and space-based capabilities to be able to deter China from making a terrible decision. And so Europe, which is more of a land domain, will be a sec over time is becoming a lesser priority. It's just why the government's trying to shift. Well, that means then they start looking at our shipbuilding industry, which is uh, no longer up to the task. It takes a very long time just to do maintenance on nuclear submarines. So that part of the industry, or the long-range precision weapons that could strike a Japanese long-range precision weapons that could strike a Chinese vessel, for example, but also protecting all of our transportation infrastructure from cyber attacks. This is a part of it as well, because of the distances involved in the Pacific. It takes 9 days to sail a U.S. Navy vessel for a U.S. Navy vessel to go from Hawaii to Japan. 9 days. I mean, that's enormous distances. I know for Canadians, that's, maybe doesn't seem like such a big deal, but for a ship at sea, you've got to be able to respond. And the Chinese, of course, have a different strategic challenge from us.